Good evening, everyone. This is the George here, and I'm gonna try to make more NBA content. I know I said earlier this year I wanted to, but I kept forgetting. But yes, this is going to be an NBA season prediction stream where I'm going to be giving my thoughts on what's going to happen this NBA season. So, this isn't going to be as long as some of my movie streams, who knows? But here we go. Now, tomorrow, the 2023-2024 NBA season begins, and a lot has happened this offseason. A lot of players were moved. The Boston Celtics revamped their roster. They added Kristaps Porzingis and recently Drew Holiday. The Milwaukee Bucks at the end of September got Damian Lillard and managed to keep Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, and Bobby Portis. The Los Angeles Lakers were able to keep their core that helped them get all the way to the Western Conference Finals last year. I know they got swept by the Denver Nuggets, but yet it was still impressive that the Los Angeles Lakers got the 7th seed and made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. Getting rid of Russell Westbrook and getting D'Angelo Russell. Austin Reeves playing a bigger role. It was quite a sight to see. Bradley Beal is now on the Phoenix Suns. The Denver Nuggets still have their roster, but I think they're still going to be pretty competitive. Kyrie Irving stayed with Dallas. I actually thought he was going to leave Dallas because Kyrie Irving's so unpredictable, but he seems content there. The Philadelphia 76ers still have James Harden, who knows if he's even going to play when the Sixers have their first game. Chris Paul is now a Golden State Warrior after they trade away Jordan Poole. A lot of moves have happened this offseason. We've also seen some players, even if they aren't big stars, going to different teams. Marcus Smart, for the first time, is now a Memphis Grizzly, no longer a Boston Celtic. He was the first piece in the Boston Celtics rebuilding after the Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett era. And the Phoenix Suns, they finally got rid of DeAndre Ayton. Well, not got rid of, but I would say traded DeAndre Ayton away and got Nurkic, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Nurkic. So how's this NBA season going to play out? Because it feels like this was one of the busiest off seasons in recent memory. And it feels like there's still things that could possibly happen even as the season is ready to open. Obviously, one of those things is, could James Harden find a new home or whatever? We don't really know yet what's going to happen with James Harden. Can any other disgruntled players eventually move out? Now, today we did find out. I'll post the article up if I can find it. So I can find it. But Giannis, who was kind of flirting with the idea, maybe I could leave because I want to compete for a championship. More, even though Milwaukee's still a championship contending team, even before Damian Lillard got traded. So I'm going to find the article. Okay, there's no videos attached to it, so I can play the video. Not play the video, read the article. I'm always worried about videos playing because of copyright. So Giannis has secured a 3-year, $186 million extension, once again done by Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj always breaking the scoops. So this deal is going to include a player option for the 2027-2028 season. And this will commit Antetokounmpo to the franchise through Damian Lillard's contract and ends the possibility of them worrying about Giannis leaving free agency, because Giannis's free agency has been brought up quite a few times. I know he's won a championship with the Milwaukee Bucks, but he's also commented saying that he wants to win another one. And I love that he will not be satisfied until he gets another championship or more. Giannis was the first one to announce this on social media. And it looks like Giannis is definitely going to be one of the stars today that's going to be with his franchise for a while, his own franchise, because that's a complaint I hear people talking about. The fact that, superstars are not loyal to their team, or teams are not loyal to their superstar and they get traded. But it looks like Giannis could dismiss that myth. I mean, I know Steph Curry has done so already, but anyways, Giannis had an 11:59 p.m. deadline, but he made it. So, because of the over 38 rule in the CBA, Giannis can sign a short-term deal again with the Bucks in 2026 and another 4-year extension in 2028. Oof. And so, the first game of the season will be when the Bucks play the 76ers on Thursday in the season opener. I just want to say I'm having a lot of fun playing the Milwaukee Bucks in NBA 2K24 right now. Damian Lillard is a lot of fun to play. Him and Giannis, and also Middleton. Middleton's I think Middleton's going to be a very underrated third best player. Hopefully he's utilized really smartly, though. So I'm going to bring this down. Okay, so it looks like Giannis is staying. I wouldn't be surprised if Giannis is one of the few stars who stays with his team for the duration of his career. But here's the thing. If you look at the Giannis Antetokounmpos of the world, the Steph Currys of the world, then the Nikola Jokic's of the world, their teams, they've built their teams pretty well and found ways to make their stars happy. It's taken a while. They didn't win 4 years into their careers. It's not like in Steph Curry's fourth year, they're all of a sudden competing for a championship. No, it kind of took a while. You have to find the right coaches. You got to find the right role players. You got to find the right secondary stars. Some injuries happen as well. And injuries suck. Yes, that's true. But at the end of the day, you eventually will get your championship. And the thing is, and I believe this wholeheartedly, I think Giannis's championship in Milwaukee means more than Kevin Durant's 2 championships in Golden State. And that's not a diss on Kevin Durant, but I'm just saying that meant more to watch than Kevin Durant's 2. Same thing when the Denver Nuggets won last year. That was very big for them. And Jokic really, really impressed. So, tomorrow night is the season opener on TNT inside the NBA. Can't wait to see Charles Barkley, Kenny the Jet Smith, Shaquille O'Neal, and Ernie Johnson at it again. And I think the first game, I'm going to look at the schedule real quick for tomorrow. What did I do that for? Okay, sorry, I had something else on. Anyways, I'm going to look at the 2000 NBA preseason. Well, first we're going to look at the preseason standings. Now, the thing to understand about preseason is that preseason doesn't automatically mean a team's going to do well. There's been teams that have done pretty well in the preseason but never make the playoffs or barely make the playoffs. So let's just look at the standings real quick. Also, not everyone plays in the preseason. Preseason minutes are, you don't get a ton of minutes. So if you look at the preseason, no surprise about the Boston Celtics because they revamped their roster pretty well. Toronto Raptors, that's a big surprise in my opinion. Let's see. And it stands out. No. Orlando 3-1. That's a little surprising, but yeah, I don't think they're gonna make the season. The Minnesota Timberwolves were undefeated. Now that's a pretty big shocker. I mean, I know the Timberwolves have been slowly getting better, but they're not exactly that team just yet. Anything else? Houston 4-1. That's a big surprise. Golden State, not much of a surprise. We'll get into Golden State in this stream. There's some teams I want to get into. I'm not going to get into every single team on the stream. I want to get into the teams that could either make it or break it, that I'm not surprised about. So yeah, that's kind of the preseason looking at. Now here's the schedule up here. So the schedule is for tomorrow. Lakers at Denver. Denver's going to get their championship ring. Going to hang their championship banner. And then afterwards, we got the Phoenix Suns versus the Golden State Warriors. Now, Phoenix Suns, again, Kevin Durant put together another super team. And this is going to be a very interesting game. Let's see. Is there a game cast thing? So, Draymond Green's going to be out in this game. So, they're going to be without their out a key player. I'm looking forward to seeing what Devin Booker do. Devin Booker's one of my favorite players. I just love when that guy shoots. Anything else that they're talking about? Postseason. Nothing really standing out. Let's look at the game cast for the Lakers versus Denver Nuggets. I think the Lakers are going to be a really good team this year. I think that run they went on close to the end of last year and into the postseason really set the tone for this team. I really think they're going to do really well. Do I think they're going to win it all? Well, we're going to get into that. So, I'm not going to go by what I think is going to be the record, but here's some of my thoughts on what's going to happen this season. So, I think this NBA season, I don't think Denver's going to repeat this year. I think Denver's still going to be a contender, but I just look at some of the moves that some of these other teams have made or how hungry some players might be this year. And I feel like there's going to be other options. Now, could Denver possibly still win the West? I think they can still win the West. And the reason why is because there's really no one else in the West that's screaming championship contender at me just yet. I'm not sold on the Phoenix Suns. Yeah, the addition of Bradley Beal is going to make them better. But the thing is, one of the shooting guards are going to have to turn into a point guard. Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, someone's going to have to run the offense. Someone I think is going to have to sacrifice some scoring for this whole thing to work. I think it's probably going to be Bradley Beal because Devin Booker is a fantastic scorer. But here's the problem. Kevin Durant and his injuries. Kevin Durant so Kevin Durant always gets like this injury in January or February. It misses a lot of time. And all of a sudden their record goes down. They lose home court advantage or whatever. Or they go down a seed or two. And I feel like not enough chemistry is developed. I still think they did Monty Williams dirty. Because I think they need more time to gel with Kevin Durant. Also, Chris Paul got injured. And I get it, Chris Paul is aging. He's not what he used to be. But I think they kind of hit the panic button when they probably should have given another year. Now, I know people are going to say they don't really have another year. Kevin Durant's getting older. CP3 is getting older. They want to get rid of DeAndre Ayton real quick. I get all that. But I don't know. There was just something about them firing Monty Williams really quickly that just rubbed me the wrong way with this team. I'm trying to remember who they hired. I think Frank Vogel's the new coach. I'm going to double check. Yeah, he is the new coach. Yeah, so Frank Vogel's the new coach. Oh, look, no disrespect to Frank Vogel. He was a really good coach in Indiana. He was a coach when the Lakers won their first championship. But is he going to be the right coach for this team? Not too sure. I do think them trading away DeAndre Ayton, using him as a way to get Nurkic in the Damian Lillard trade, was a smart move. He's a really, even though Nurkic may not be the talent that DeAndre Ayton can be, I think getting rid of a toxic player or a player that has been deemed toxic, that has been lacking heart, I think really helps. So I think Phoenix is going to contend, but I'm not sold on them coming out of the West. If anything, I'm more sold on the Lakers coming out of the West because the Lakers to me had a really good underrated offseason. They kept D'Angelo Russell, they kept Austin Reeves, they added other role players. There's I'm gonna look at their roster real quick to see like who else they added. They kept Rui Hachimura. I'm gonna pull it up actually. I'll pull up the Lakers roster so we can all see. Let's see. Cam Reddish. They added Taurean Prince. Gabe Vincent. He was pretty solid for the Heat. I know he kind of dropped after a while, but he's a pretty solid player. He's 27 years old. That's the thing. They added some really good young talent. LeBron James is 38. Who's the second oldest player on this team? Anthony Davis at the age of 30. Yeah, no, they definitely put together a solid roster. I think the Lakers. Honestly, the Lakers are probably my second pick. LeBron James is still balling. If Anthony Davis can stay healthy, he's gonna be a big threat. D'Angelo Russell, if he can be more consistent, I think Austin Reeves is gonna get better. They got a really good roster. And the Denver Nuggets don't win the West, I think it's gonna be the Lakers. Because I'm really not sold on these other teams in the West besides the Nuggets, the Lakers, and maybe the Phoenix Suns if they can develop chemistry. Now, I think the fourth best team on paper for me is probably going to be the Golden State Warriors. And the thing is with the Warriors, they made a really interesting choice in acquiring Chris Paul. Now, when Chris Paul was acquired, I was wondering what was going on. Are they just going to get him to play backup for Steph Curry? Because Chris Paul, he ain't that much younger. He is Steph Curry is 35. Chris Paul is 38. I'm going to pull up the Lakers roster real quick. Draymond Green's 33. How old's Klay Thompson? Let me see. Klay Thompson's 33. And I think Steve Kerr said Chris Paul's going to start. So he ain't really even playing backup. I think he's going to try to imitate what the James Harden, Chris Paul experiment that Mike D'Antoni had back in Houston, where, for some minutes James Harden will play point guard, some minutes it'd be CP3, which, I mean, that did win a lot of games. They almost went to the NBA Finals. But you also got to remember, back then James Harden was younger. We're going to get into James Harden in this stream as well. So things were a lot different. Dario Saric, I remember he was a solid power forward. I don't know how good he is nowadays. I rarely hear about him. They got Gary Payton the second back. Andrew Wiggins is still there. I don't know. I feel like this is going to be one of those teams that's going to make it or break it. As far as the other teams go, I'm not sold on the Clippers. I can't buy into the fact that Kawhi Leonard is going to get healthy. I just don't. I like Kawhi Leonard. I think he's a great player, but I think the Clippers window has closed. The first 2 years they were a contender, but they haven't been the same since Kawhi Leonard got injured the second season. He just hasn't been. Team hasn't been. Dallas, I think Dallas will make the playoffs this year, but I'm not sold on them. Sacramento's, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I think Sacramento will probably be in there. We'll have to wait and see. Memphis, I gotta refresh how many games John Moran is suspended for, because I ain't sold on the Grizzlies either. I'm looking it up. 25 games. So he was only going to be available for 57 games. Yikes. I mean, they're capable of winning without him. They've done it before. A couple seasons ago, they were the second. I think they had the second best record in the NBA, and John Morant missed a lot of games. You added Marcus Smart to your roster to add some toughness. If they give him some playing time, I think Derrick Rose can contribute still. Desmond Bain, I think, will take another step. The thing is, and this involves Steven Adams. Steven Adams apparently is going to be out for the whole season. And so without your solid big man, I'm going to look up how many games Steven Adams is going to be missing. But no, I just no. I want to look up what the injury was. Okay, he's got to get knee surgery. He is going to miss the whole season. Yeah, so I'm not sold on the Memphis Grizzlies. I just think there's so much happening with these guys. It's just not even funny. Who's he? But I think they're still going to make the playoffs. I don't think this is going to kill their chances of not making the playoffs. I mean, you still got Desmond Bain, as I said. Jaren Jackson Jr. is still a really good player. Made the All-Star team last year. But they ain't going to have the second best roster, second best record in the West. Everyone else, I'm just not sold on in the Western Conference. So to me, it's either going to be the Denver Nuggets, which I think is the most likely scenario, Los Angeles Lakers, or maybe the Phoenix Suns. I can't see any big moves happening in the West during the season unless something happens with James Harden. I think James Harden could possibly get traded. And I know he's in the East right now on the Philadelphia 76ers. I know there's been the rumors that he could get traded to the Los Angeles Clippers. I don't think that's really going to help the Clippers all that much. Well, they got a bunch of like fading stars right now. But apparently, like the Clippers don't want to give up Terrence Mann. Apparently, that's a thing. Terrence Mann is a sought-out player for the Philadelphia 76ers. And I think Daryl Morey is getting frustrated by this whole situation. I wouldn't be surprised. But hey, I think Russell Westbrook at least fits in this team better than he did for the Los Angeles Lakers. Okay, so do I think there's going to be a team in the West that's going to disappoint? I think the New Orleans Pelicans might disappoint because I'm not buying into Zion Williamson getting healthy. I just really am not feeling it. I think Minnesota's still going to be where it is, like a 7th or 8th seed team. But I think the Pelicans are probably going to disappoint again. You got the talent, but the talent's got to get healthy. Do I think who do I think is going to be MVP before I get into the East? I'm gonna. This is gonna be a wild card one. I think Luka Doncic is going to be a contender for the MVP. I'm not saying he's going to win it, and I think a lot's got to turn around for Dallas for him to win it or be considered. But I think Luka Doncic is going to see you missing the postseason last year as motivation. You, especially after you went from making the Western Conference Finals 2 seasons ago to missing the postseason. And I think, and I'm not the biggest Kyrie Irving fan, but I think Kyrie Irving will get in line. Because look, here's the thing. Dallas did have problems, but the thing is, Kyrie Irving was balling last season. He didn't bail on Dallas like he did on Boston and Brooklyn. He actually was around, and he actually contributed, at least on the offensive end. The problem I think Dallas had was that they basically traded away good role players in order to get Kyrie, and they didn't have a lot after Luka and Kyrie. It's like these two would ball, but then who else is going to show up? And that's a normal thing to see. It was happening with the Lakers a couple years ago as well. It was like, LeBron's balling. AD will have his AD moments if he's healthy. But then what happens when they get hurt? Who will step it up? And Westbrook tried to be that third option, but he just couldn't. So I'm gonna pick Luka as a contender. I think Giannis is gonna do it as well. I think Giannis is gonna feel heavily motivated after getting out in the first round to the Miami Heat. And he's gonna see that he's gonna be in that win now mentality. I also think Jason Tatum. I think Jason Tatum, he has just gotten better every year. I think Jason Tatum, this could be Jason Tatum's first MVP year. I really do. I think it's going to be between those three, along with Nikola Jokic. I don't be surprised if Jokic's in the conversation. Those four. I'm going to sell for those four right now. As far as the Eastern Conference goes. This is where things get interesting because it was the Eastern Conference where a lot of things happen. I think it's gonna, and I think not only do I think one of these two teams are gonna win the East, I also think one of these two teams is gonna win the whole thing. It's either gonna be the Milwaukee Bucks or the Boston Celtics. I'm looking at these two teams and the moves that they have made, and the Bucks. You've got one of the best point guards with the best power forward right now. Damian Lillard is in a better situation. They also have a good third option in Chris Middleton. You got a good center in Brook Lopez. You got a good six man in Bobby Portis. I think for whoever you can plug in that shooting guard spot, because you had to trade Grayson Allen, your starting shooting guard. I'm going to look at their options. I think it's Pat Cunningham and Malik Beasley. Let me see if there's anyone else because I honestly have no idea who they could insert into the starting lineup. I think regardless of who you plug in at that shooting guard spot, Malik Beasley, Pat Cunningham, like that starting shooting guard spot, I think you're gonna have someone who can hit shots, and I think they got a solid roster. I think they did a really good job. Let's see, they also got Robin Lopez as your backup center. Cameron Payne. Cameron Payne really improved during his time at Phoenix as Chris Paul's backup. I think he'll be a solid backup for Damian Lillard. Now, I'm going to look at the Boston Celtics, who have also made some really big moves this year. And the first one was obviously the addition of Kristaps Porzingis, and that's where they had to trade away Marcus Smart. But Kristaps Porzingis, I know people give him some flack because he hasn't been healthy and he hasn't really been an all-star, but he's still 28 years old. He can hit really good shots. He can be a great third scoring option for this team that already has two great scoring players in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They managed to keep Al Horford. Then they obtained Drew Holiday after the Damian Lillard trade, and Drew Holiday got traded again. Let's see who else. I'm gonna put the roster. They still have Derek White. Now they had to give away some of their really good depth. They don't have Malcolm Brogdon anymore. Got rid of Robert Williams, Grant Williams. They got rid of some really good defensive players. But they definitely have one of, if not the best starting five on paper. They really do. And I'm not gonna say what I think is gonna be better because a lot can happen in the postseason. Someone can get hurt, someone can miss time. I really don't know who's gonna come out of the East on this one. But I think it's gonna be one of these two teams because Miami had their chance of getting Damian Lillard and they blew it. I think the Knicks will be good, but that's all they're gonna be. They're gonna be good. The Cavaliers, I'm not sold on the Cleveland Cavaliers. They lost in the first round of 5 games to a New York Knicks team that was not as talented as they were. The 76ers are really messy right now because of this James Harden situation. I'm going to actually look into that. Who else is on the 76ers roster? Because this is just crazy. So they got, besides Joel Embiid, Danny Green, Tobias Harris still, Tyrese Maxey, Patrick Beverly, PJ Tucker, Mo Bamba. He's actually a pretty good backup for Joel Embiid. But James Harden, it's just like he doesn't want to be there. He wants out. Where is he going to go? And what are you going to get back for him? Because I feel like at this point, the longer this goes on, the more likely you're not going to get that good of a deal. I mean, look, despite how James Harden played last year in the elimination game, he's still a pretty good scorer. He's still a really good passer, but he's also a very moody star. He will show up to training camp out of shape, and his antics right now are not looking really good. And then there's questions about could Joel Embiid want out after this year, because who knows what's going to happen with Philly. They actually had a chance to make it into the NBA Finals this year, or at least the Eastern Conference Finals. And they blew it in Game 6 and blew it even harder in Game 7. I think the Raptors will be slightly better. They ain't going to be that much better. Same thing with the Chicago Bulls. The thing is, the Chicago Bulls, I'm going to pull up their roster, because Chicago Bulls do have a really good roster. The problem is that the Bulls are going to Bulls. I mean, they still got DeMar DeRozan on Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, Kobe White, Patrick Williams. The other problem is Lonzo Ball. When they had Lonzo Ball, they were one of the best teams in the East. Then when he went down, they started going down. They're without their pretty solid point guard. Lonzo Ball's a pretty good player, very good player, and he is still out. Lonzo's 25. I thought he was around my age. He's a couple years younger than me. Andre Drummond's still on this roster. I'm not expecting a whole lot from the Brooklyn Nets. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't make the postseason. Let me look at their roster real quick. I mean, Mikal Bridges was balling last year. He could be still very good. Dinwiddie's pretty good. Ben Simmons, that's the question mark. What kind of Ben Simmons are we going to get? I'm just really not sold on if Ben Simmons anymore. He's just very unreliable. So, to me, it's going to either be Boston or Milwaukee. And I think no matter what team any of those two teams face off against, I think they're going to be whoever's going to come out of the West. I honestly think that. I think it's going to be Milwaukee or Boston. And I think both teams are in a win-now situation. They have to win. They both lost. They were the top two teams in the East last year. They both lost to an 8th seed Miami Heat team. And I get it. There's been some weird circumstances with each team. Mike Budenholzer got fired, but it was discovered that Mike Budenholzer was also dealing with, I'm pretty sure, his brother's death at that time. The Boston Celtics, they began the season with their coach getting fired for having a unethical relationship with a member of the staff. And so they hired a new coach who didn't prioritize defense as much. So to me, these two teams, they are in a win now situation where it's like, we got to win. And the thing is, it's not like they have an aging star like Golden State, the Lakers, Phoenix Suns. No, Giannis is still in his prime. Giannis is in his prime. I think Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they're going to be entering their prime. They've been balling before their prime. But still, when you're at it for a while, when you've been on the same team for a while, you want results. And even when you get the results, like the Milwaukee Bucks, you want more. You're expected to win more. So, we're going to see what happens this season. Now, something could change involving James Harden. Maybe if James Harden's traded to a certain team, it could be possible that team can bump up and become a title contender. I don't know. Thing is, what team's going to want James Harden? And what's that team going to have to give up in return? The thing is, when you look at the Damian Lillard trade, yeah, the Milwaukee Bucks gave up Drew Holiday and Grayson Allen, but they managed to keep the rest of their core that has contributed. They kept Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, and Bobby Portis. When you look at the Boston Celtics, they got Drew Holiday without giving up Al Horford, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis. They still have Derek White. They gave up some really good role players, but still. Now, do I think a team's going to disappoint in the East? Probably Philadelphia. I think because of this whole situation with James Harden, I think there's going to be a different vibe. And look, Nick Nurse is a great coach. He won a championship, but the situation in Philly is very different from the situation when he came into Toronto. I feel like there's a different atmosphere, there's a different pressure, there's a different mood with the stars. I think Miami will still make it. I'm not going to doubt them. I'm trying to think if there's any other team. I'm going to look at last year's standings to see who else. Oh, yeah, the Atlanta Hawks. I think Quentin Snyder will help improve the record, but I see the Atlanta Hawks more so at most being a 4th or 5th seed team. I'm going to look at their roster real quick. I mean, I still got, besides Trae Young, they still got DeJounte Murray, Clint Capella, Bogdan Bogdanovic. The roster's not bad, but it's not going to be game-changing. But I think they're still going to make it. I think the team that's not going to make it that made it last year, I think it's going to be the Brooklyn Nets. I don't think they're going to make the postseason. I think it'll either be Toronto or the Chicago Bulls that will get in there. I don't expect much from the Indiana Pacers or the Washington Wizards. Washington's in rebuild mode. Jordan Poole's their franchise guy right now. If that's even a thing. But yeah, I gotta pick a team in the West that's not gonna make the playoffs this year. Because I think Dallas is going to make it. This is a tough one. If I'm going to take a guess, I think it's either going to be the Memphis Grizzlies or the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't know what's going to happen with John Morant when he comes back. And as far as Minnesota goes, Minnesota's going to Minnesota, in my opinion. I'm going to look at their roster real quick because maybe things can change. They went undefeated in the preseason. I mean, it's still got Mike Conley. It's still got Karl-Anthony Towns. Anthony Edwards. He's been balling. But Rudy Gobert, I don't know. He hasn't really been wowing since he got there. But I think, to be fair, Karl-Anthony Towns missed a lot of games last season. And maybe if he had played in more, they could have had a better record. But let me see. As far as other stuff this season goes, outside of James Harden trade, I don't think any big trade is going to happen this season. As far as All-Stars go, who do I think is going to be a first-time All-Star? I think Jalen Brunson. I'm surprised he wasn't an All-Star last year. I think Jalen Brunson's going to be an All-Star for the first time. If the Brooklyn Nets catch people by surprise and are a mid-level team or are a play-in team, maybe if Mikal Bridges is still on that run that he was on last year when he got traded to Brooklyn, maybe he can make it. Maybe I can also see him being a fill-in player if a player gets hurt. I'm trying to think of anyone else that I could possibly see maybe their first time. Okay, here's another one. I'd be very shocked if he didn't make it this time. And that is Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray's a baller. He was great in the postseason last year. He came back from an ACL injury very well. And I think this is going to be the season that he's going to make the All-Star team. He needs to make the All-Star team, in my opinion. I mean, the fact is, I'm surprised Denver last year didn't have two All-Stars. To me, Denver was the most consistent team in the West last year, where all the other teams were very inconsistent, like a roller coaster. Some would go on winning streaks and then go on losing streaks. Denver kept it pretty consistent. There was no drama. There was no antics. So I think Denver will have two All-Stars this year. I think Jamal Murray is going to be one of them. I'm trying to think anyone else can I see making the All-Star team for the first time this season. I'm trying to think. I can see Porzingis getting considered if someone gets hurt. So yeah, I don't really see any new All-Stars getting in outside of those few that I just mentioned. It's so weird. Even if you average a lot of points, it's so hard to get into the All-Star game. And you never know who's going to get hurt or injured. And here's the other question: will Kevin Durant finally play in an All-Star game after missing the last few? Hopefully, yes. I hope he makes it. It ain't the same without him. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. As far as like defensive player of the year goes, I don't really have anyone in mind for that. Um, any league leaders? Trying to think who can possibly lead the NBA in points. Don't really have any. See, this is like tough. These are the kind of questions that are the toughest. I think Jason Tatum could lead points per game again. I can see it happening. He is developed into a really good scorer. As far as defense, oh man, that's a tough one. I really don't have anyone in mind for defensive player of the year. To me, defensive player of the year, this is one of the weirdest awards ever. Because I remember for a time I thought only a big man could win that award. But then luckily guards and forwards are finally winning it again. I'll never forget the year Marcus Sol or Tyson Chandler beat out LeBron. And that was like the one time LeBron was playing was like playing great enough defense to win the award. I think it was like 2013 when Marcus Sol won. Oh, LeBron was like fantastic that year. He should have been defensive player of the year. But yeah, my prediction, not my official, but like I can see a Denver versus Boston or Milwaukee finals. I think that is very likely. As far as anything else happening, Victor Wembanyama is definitely going to win Rookie of the Year. That means San Antonio's going to make the playoffs? No. I can't see it happening because to me, it's kind of tough to. It was tough for me to bump out a team that made the playoffs last year to put in Dallas, who I think will make the postseason this year. Could San Antonio be a playing team? I can see that happening. Maybe the following season because it's not just enough to get Victor Wembanyama on your team, even though he's a fantastic player. The thing is, when Tim Duncan when Tim Duncan came on the Spurs, people forget that the Spurs they had the talent. The problem was that the talent was unhealthy and was aging. But once they got Tim Duncan and the injured talent got healthy, they played very well. And I'm not taking anything away from Tim Duncan. He had a great impact on the team right away. In his second season, he won the NBA championship and was the finals MVP. But let's not forget, David Robinson was still on the team when he came in. And others. So I'm gonna look at San Antonio's roster. I think I'm gonna end this. I gotta make more NBA content. I definitely do. I always say I'm gonna, but I never do. Um, Take me a while to load this up. See who's still on this roster. Oh wow, I don't really recognize a lot of these guys. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna make the postseason. I'm starting to question if they can even make the play in. I think Oklahoma's probably gonna make the play in again. They got like so many assets, draft assets. It's not even funny. But I think I'm gonna end it here. I didn't want to go too long with this. I just wanted to share my thoughts on the moves that have happened, what teams are gonna make it or break it. Um, I think what I should do is every few weeks do like an NBA season update, see what's going on in the season, what trades are happening, because I need to get more NBA content out there. I knew I said I was going to, but I never got a chance to. Early in the year, I got too busy with work to talk about all the postseason moves. And so I decided, you know what, I'll talk about it before the season begins. And I wanted to do a stream, but I kept forgetting to. And I realized that the season begins tomorrow. So I am going to do more NBA content. I'm going to plan out NBA content a lot better from now on. So thank you for watching to those who have watched, whether it was live or on replay. And as far as future NBA videos go or streams, maybe in a couple weeks I'll do another NBA stream. I'm gonna spread them out. I'm not gonna do like a stream every week because not everything happens every week. For my movie stuff, I am still gonna be doing a couple more Halloween reviews, and I think this weekend I will do a open mic. Well, not open mic, but a open topic stream where we talk about our favorite Halloween, horror, spooky movies, shows, games, whatever. Because it's the weekend before Halloween. Halloween is next Tuesday. So maybe I'll do a stream where, me and some other people, if they want to come on, can talk about our favorite horror movies and Halloween stuff, what we love to watch around Halloween, and celebrate this great holiday because I love Halloween. And thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please share us with someone that's an NBA fan. And if you know anyone that likes NBA content but also likes movies, tell them to check out my other stuff. And I hope to see you guys real soon. Enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone.